Hello and welcome to another video where I try to beat a Pokemon game with a Weedle called Bongzilla. And today we're going to be taking a quick side quest back to Gen 1 to see if we can beat this game with just a Weedle without using items. And this came about because quite often in my comments I'll get a comment saying, "How come you're using items? That's lame." And my thought on this has always been I don't do that because it's definitely not possible with just Weedle. But in retrospect I thought maybe it would make for a good video if I just see how far I can get with no items. And I'm honestly not expecting us to be able to beat this game without items, but you never know I guess. And just a heads up, I'm not going to go through all the story stuff again because I've already made fun of it in great detail, but I might throw in a bit here and there. Well, let's just see how far we can get in Pokemon Yellow with just a Weedle and no items. Ah, look at the little cute Pikachu doing things and stuff. Ah, look, he's a cute little surfer boy. Fuck you, Pikachu. We don't need you, we just need the Weedle. Hail the Bug King, he is your boy, and he'll never give you up or let you down or tell a lie and hurt you. That's a Jake McCauley promise. So after naming myself, I decided to name my rival a cunt in the usual Weedle run tradition. Man, when I start getting restricted across the board for my swearing, I'm gonna have to get creative with my names. Maybe future runs could have rivals called a Muff, a Plonker, or perhaps a Git.
It's Funking Sunday, and I've got to go to funking work in 4 funking hours, because every other funker in my funking department is funking ill. Now can you see why I'm so funking angry? Funk, yeah?
Anyway, after doing the intro bollocks, we finally pick up our buggy lord and saviour Bongzilla. Well my boy, let's see how much of a dent we can make in this game. Well, let's move swiftly on to Viridian Forest, where I'm about to spend a large chunk of time level grinding. But not as much as I expected. And I already know from previous runs how much of a pain in the arse the rock gyms can be early on, so I decided to level grind to level 30 before even doing my first Brock attempt. After 10 hours of level grinding, I'm definitely ready for a fight with a strange 20-year-old man who follows 2 preteens around many dark woods. Wait, what was that? He's meant to be 15? I don't buy that for 1 second. This is just retconning from Game Freak to cover up their sordid past. I mean, look at him. There's no way a 15-year-old is that swole. It's so obvious that Game Freak is evil when you look at their logo. It's just a floppy dong.
Haha! Dangly parts.
They're definitely in league with our Martian overlords. Anyway, here's Brock's squad. Yup, it's the usual shit, but I have a feeling at this level they ain't going to be causing as many problems. And my level grinding pays off, and Geodude's rock solid defense is melted away by the struggling of Weedle in just 3 strikes. The Onyx proves to be a bit more of a challenge, and they manage to get Weedle's health pretty low, but that does not stop their death at the hands of our bug saviour. Well, that went a lot more smoothly than I was expecting. Let's move on to Mount Moon, where you can find Jessie and James. They even have all the Pokemon they had in the anime. So awesome that they included this. I love that they say,
Team Rocket blast off at the speed of light.
This has got to be one of the only things from the cartoon they've put in a main series game. But with them out of the way, we're now in Cerulean City, and before we can take on Misty, we have a fight with a cunt to take care of. And here's his squad. And I'm just gonna say this now, his Sandshrew is an annoying git. The first Pokemon he sends out is Spearow, which isn't too much trouble because Bongzilla gets a lucky crit on his first hit. But it does use a growl before we take it down, which makes his next Pokemon, Sandshrew, even more annoying. Because as you would expect, we get pelted with sand attacks and we're basically doing no damage to Sandshrew. After a lot of poison stings, we take the Sandshrew down, but it lowered our accuracy a lot, which will make taking the rest of his squad down all the harder. Next up is Rattata, and even with our extremely lowered accuracy, this fight isn't too taxing for Bongzilla with a little help from a crit. Man, we're getting lucky with the crits here. Last up is Eevee, which to my utter dismay also had Sand Attack. But luckily for me, Bongzilla managed to get a poison off early, and this finishes the Eevee off, giving us the win. Take that, you twat! With that out of the way, it's time to take a visit to Bill to get the SS Anne tickets. Why do I feel like this whole I've turned myself into a Pokemon bit was inspired by the movie The Fly? This section would have been way cooler if he'd ended up like some half-human, half-Pokemon abomination, like in the Jeff Goldblum Fly. Wait, isn't that basically Mr. Mime? You know someone in the Pokemon world had sex with a Pokemon and that's how we got Mr. Mime. It's probably the Pokemon daycare bloke. I've always got weird vibes off of him. What's your day job? I have to watch the Pokemon. Oh, very closely. Ugh. Well, let's take on Misty. Here's her squad. As always, that Starmie is a ruddy great bastard. First up is Staryu, which as you might expect doesn't really cause me any trouble. It usually hits me with tackle as Weedle murders it. But her last Pokemon Starmie is a whole other story. It comes packing the very damaging Bubble Beam that it gets a crit on quite a lot because of its speed stat. But what doesn't help matters is Misty using X Defense on it and using Harden, which really slows Weedle down. After getting absolutely smashed with crits, I thought it might be time to try taking the Starmie down with Struggle. Well, did using Struggle help? No, it didn't. I was still getting murdered. So I guess it's time to do a bit of level grinding.
Welcome to intermission.
After a quick 3-hour grinding session, I got Weedle to level 40 and I thought this would be enough to take Misty down. And I went in straight away with Struggle this time because I thought the Struggle method was a little bit more effective. After taking down the Staryu with ease, I got a stroke of luck on the Starmie. It didn't use Bubble Beam once in the time I was killing it with Struggle, and it went down in 3 hits. And there we go, we've beaten Misty. It is now time to move on to Vermilion City, home of Lieutenant
Thunderbolt.
Mwah, the best voice I have ever heard in an anime dub. I give you the Tommy Wiseau Award of Voiceover Excellence. Congratulations.
You're not good. You're just a chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
Ah, the SS Anne. So many memories of this boat. So many seamen. You know, the other word for sailors. Not the dirty thing you were thinking of. Because I know you were thinking it. And there's another battle with a cunt on this ship. And it's really not worth going over. It's pretty much the same as last time. So after helping out a seaman in need of some age-appropriate rubbing. And that's all, you dirty-minded people.
Do not diddle kids, it's no good diddling kids.
We get cut and say goodbye to the SS Anne. Brings a tear to the eye, but my heart will go on.
Every night in my dreams, I see you. I feel you.
Well, let's take on Lieutenant Thunderbolt. And here's his squad. Yeah, this Poundland Guile only has Raichu, probably another nod to the cartoon perhaps. But either way, him only having this Raichu works out pretty good for us. And Bongzilla easily murders this thick boy with a couple of poison stings. Well, that was easy. After heading through the Rock Tunnel in Lavender Town, we find ourselves in Saffron City, home of Erica, who probably isn't going to be too challenging. And here's her squad. Yeah, Bongzilla's going to make himself up a Caesar salad with this bunch of shrubs. Her first Pokemon is Tangela, which is a pure grass type, so it takes super effective hits from Weedle's Poison Sting, which makes short work of Tangela. Her next Pokemon, Weepinbell, has the advantage of a part Poison typing, and it does paralyse Bongzilla, but it too falls to the might of Poison Sting. Erica's last Pokemon is Gloom, and it actually put up a bit of a fight, mainly because it has the move Acid, which is super effective against Weedle. But by the luck of the Weed Gods, we beat Gloom with 1 hit point remaining. Thanks, Jesus. We head next to the Rocket Base, and after clearing out this den of villainy, we come up against Giovanni for the first time. And here's his squad. Yep, you know Giovanni is going to cause me some fucking issues throughout this run. The first Pokemon he sends out is Onix, which with Poison Sting I cannot get past. After move wasting I'm able to get past the Onix, but it definitely buggered my health in the process. Next up is Rhyhorn. Oh god, another bulky rock type. While Rhyhorn doesn't quite have the knockout power of Onix, it certainly has the defense. And it takes so long to take down that it grinded my health into the red by the time I killed it. And his last Pokemon is Persian, which I'm never going to get past with my health this low. So I guess it's time to go back to the grind. Well, after a quick 4-hour grind, I'm up to level 60, so let's take him on again. And this time I went straight in with Struggle. First up is Onix, and I got really lucky and it didn't hit me with any rock throws and I killed it with 4 Struggles. Then it was Rhyhorn again, and this time with his higher level, Bongzilla makes short work of him. And his last Pokemon Persian goes down with 2 Struggles. And there we go, we've beat Giovanni. Time to head to Lavender Town Tower for another battle with a cunt. And again, it's not worth going over because it's really easy and basically the same as the last 2 rival battles. Well, once we've saved Mr. Fuji and got the Pokemon Flute, it's time to wake up this sleepy boy. Who needs the Poker Flute when you have Metal? After beating up a bunch of dudes with duck penises, we're in Fuchsia City, where we are now going to take on Koga, who was an absolute git like always. Here's his squad. It doesn't look that imposing, but it really is. The first Pokemon he sent out was of course Venonat, which had a nasty surprise in store for Weedle. It has fucking Psychic. Seriously, fucking Psychic on a Venonat. You've got to be kidding me. And as you might expect, this causes some bloody problems. I can get past the Venonat, but it damages Weedle so much in the process that his next Pokemon, a higher level Venonat, just bops him with Psybeam. Well, I better get some level grinding done then. With Bongzilla at a swole level 75, I went back to challenge Koga. In my first attempt I used Struggle, and although I can now get through the first 2 Venonat, I couldn't get past the 3rd Venonat because it was still dealing out too much damage. I then tried again with Poison Sting to see if this improved my chances, but with Poison Sting I couldn't even get past the 2nd Venonat. And it was at this point I decided to mad lad it all the way up to level 100 because, I mean, I was going to have to do it at some point, right? Might as well do it now.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
18 fucking hours, that's a long time, but not the longest I've spent level grinding in this series I guess. But for whatever reason, this time the flashing light from the wild encounters made my eyes water after one particularly long grinding session. That's never happened before. I legit felt how those children must have felt after they saw that episode of Pokemon that gave people seizures. God, it's going to be so satisfying to kill Koga after that mammoth grind session. And yeah, grinding to max level helped. Who would have thought it? But it was still no walk in the park. The extra levels helped me with the amount of damage I was taking from Psychic, and it also helped me carve my way through the trio of Venonats. All that was left to beat was Koga's Venomoth. And I got incredibly lucky and the Venomoth just spammed Leech Life while I murdered it. If it had used Psychic or Psybeam a couple of times, I would have died. I have no idea why it didn't use those moves, but I'm not complaining. Moving swiftly on to Saffron City, we have the Silphco building to clear out, and we also have to take on Sabrina, the gym leader I was most concerned about going into this itemless run. The rival fight and the Giovanni battle in the Silphco building aren't really worth going over because at max level I pretty much breeze through these 2 fights. So without further ado, let's take on Sabrina. And here's her squad. Yep, it's the whole Abra line, which I'm sure will be annoying. The first Pokemon she sends out is Abra, which Bongzilla easily takes down with a critical Poison Sting. Then she sends out her second Pokemon, Kadabra, who puts up a bit more of a fight. Bongzilla smacks the Kadabra with a Poison Sting, nearly killing it in one shot, but then Kadabra hits back with a deadly Psychic, almost cutting Weedle's health in half. But luckily Weedle can hit the Kadabra before it gets in another Psychic. And last up is of course Alakazam, which I was fearing would end this run. But Weedle gets off a Poison Sting that chops Alakazam's health in half, and then Alakazam X defends up, which is actually quite good for us. And Weedle again whacks Alakazam with a Poison Sting, taking another quarter of its health and getting the poison off. But Alakazam responds with a Psychic. Yes, Weedle tanked the hit. Now time for the killing blow. Well, we've already got further than I thought we would, so anything after this is a bonus really. Off to Cinnabar Island we go, I guess. And honestly, this battle with Blaine is insanely difficult. You'll see why. Here's his squad. I think you can already start to see why we might have a bit of trouble with this battle. His first Pokemon, Ninetales, is a jammy bastard with moves like Confuse Ray and Flamethrower that really ruin this battle for me. That said, I do basically get past the Ninetales every time I do an attempt, but the damage it does to me combined with the confusion can really screw me for the rest of the battle. So it's very important that this part of the battle goes well for me. After Ninetales comes Rapidash, who is, yes, another Git. It has the almost broken in this gen Fire Spin, which can easily be spammed on poor Weedle. But it also has Growl, which can really mess with Weedle's ability to take down Blaine's last Pokemon, his signature Arcanine, which is honestly fucking impossible after this barrage of bullshit. Arcanine has Fire Blast, which of course always murders whatever's left of my health, and he's also a bulky fucker, which means it takes Weedle a while to kill him, which isn't exactly ideal when he's buffing his defense with Reflect. Sometimes Arcanine would just spam Reflect while I hit him with Poison Sting, but I could never kill him before he murdered me with Fire Blast. After trying this battle a good 30 times, I was starting to think this might be the end of this run, but I felt like with the perfect run of luck I could maybe, just maybe, get past that Arcanine. However, I would have to get fucking lucky on the first 2 Pokemon. I'd basically have to take next to no damage from hitting myself in confusion or that cheap Fire Spin of Rapidash. I did try this with struggle, but the recoil damage and the damage from the enemy was too great for me to get to Arcanine with enough health to kill him. So I had to get the luckiest attempt ever with just Weedle's Poison Sting. There was one attempt where I managed to get Arcanine down into the red, and this convinced me that it was definitely possible to beat this fucker even if the chances were slim. And after, I kid you not, 40 more attempts, I got the luck I needed to maybe finally take down this Arcanine. I actually got quite unlucky on the Ninetales on this run, but the Rapidash only hit me with one stomp. And my health wasn't exactly looking too great, but the Weed Gods were on our side because Weedle did big damage on his first Poison Sting, and Arcanine replied with a Reflect. Then our next Poison Sting was critical and it got its health dangerously low, but Arcanine responded with the dreaded Fire Blast. Holy fuck, he survived. but surely he can't damage him enough to kill him. Oh my god, he got a crit! I didn't think it was possible, but we beat Blaine! I once again honestly thought this run was over, but then that happened. Absolutely amazing! But I'm not liking our chances of beating Giovanni. But you never know, miracles do happen apparently. Well, let's go for it. Here's his squad. Yep, that looks nasty. This might be it, lads. The first Pokemon he sends out is Dugtrio, who isn't actually that hard. His Earthquake and Dig do a little bit of damage, but it can't take too many hits before it dies. Although Dugtrio is just part of the death by 1,000 cuts that is this battle. Sometimes you can get lucky and Dugtrio will just spam Fissure that didn't work once on me. Luck, that's rare. Next up is a Persian, which again doesn't really have many moves that are all that damaging, but it is quite lucky with the crits, which can be really annoying. It, much like Dugtrio, is another Pokemon that is just slowly nipping away at our health, preventing us from victory. Once Persian is taken care of, he sends out his next Pokemon, Nidoqueen, who is basically a brick wall of death if I'm still using Poison Sting, because Poison Sting barely damages her, and she'll just spam Thunder on us until we're brutally injured or dead. If we do manage to limp through Nidoqueen, Giovanni's next Pokemon, Nidoking, will make for damn sure that we're dead. I didn't try any attempts with Struggle because I knew I wouldn't have enough health to kill all of his Pokemon, but I did need something to take down the Nidoqueen wall, so I started going into this battle after wasting a few Poison Stings. I did this to ensure that when I got to Nidoqueen I would basically already have Struggle ready to go so I can get past her. And this worked up to a point because I actually managed to get past the Nidoqueen and the Nidoking using this strategy. But the problem was, there's still a fucking Rhydon to go, and I can never get lucky enough to get to this Rhydon with enough health to kill it, because it's bulky as shit and it would just murder me every time with Rock Slide. So as I sadly gaze upon this lake in depression, I must admit defeat. Or could I possibly hit the magic anime transformation button and kick everyone's ass in Weedle's perfect form, Beedrill? Yes, I shall. No one defeats Bongzilla. Cue the music.
Fire! 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 You have awakened my bone, and now you must pay. The spit will flow with the blood of an unbeliever.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Fire! 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 Hasta la vista, baby.